Ta-da! Can you hear now? No? Yes, you can hear? Okay, that's good. Good, good, good. We're all there. Fuck me. There's me sitting there for 4 minutes talking away and no sound. Oh my goodness. I had a little blown man moment, so I did there. But that's okay. So yes, here we are. Thought I'd do a little live stream and talk about a topic that is probably close to us all. We've all experienced it some shape or form. This isn't about you know about anybody in particular. It's not about a channel in particular. It's not about anything like that. There, um, I'm not part of a group. There's been, people think we're a big group, that we're all part of some sort of conspiracy or something, but that's just not the case. And yeah, so apologies for the first couple of minutes there of no sound. I've got it fixed. So this evening we're going to talk about psychopaths on YouTube. And see what we come up with. I've got a few pointers here, a few notes taken down, you know. Hi, Ghost. Hope you're keeping well back. Wow, what a poor. People mustn't be getting their freaking notifications. Oh. Hi, Renee. How are you, girl? Is it in my settings or in your settings? Kick. There's a wee link there if anybody wants to jump in with me and have a chat. Talk about YouTube psychopaths and how to spot them on YouTube. You're more than welcome. Well, that's good, Ghost. Good stuff. And you can hear me. I'm pretty sure that most of the people here can acknowledge that, this has been going around YouTube for the last lot of years, along with myself, that the experience has been most of the time pretty pleasurable. And then every once in a while, you run into this type of a type of person that just, I don't know, sucks you in, I guess. And then they want to spit you out. Basically, that's what it all comes down to. So when I started mixing with people, which was only a few years ago, although I'd been sitting watching YouTube for quite some time, I've been watching a lot of these channels. Hadn't been watching them because they weren't even making content themselves. But I'd seen them around the channels that I'd been watching and things like that there. And I got involved with people, and as soon as that involvement happened, all these things, it's like a chain of events. As soon as you put a video out, I'm speaking in general here, okay? As soon as you put a video out on your channel that attracts attention, um, you'll get lots of good people who come along, and if they like your video, whatever, they'll leave a comment, or they'll leave a wee like or something like that. Or normally you'll get some sort of recognition that they've enjoyed your video. Thumbs up, maybe. Maybe they'll give a thumbs down. Doesn't really matter. But the point is, once you do that and you start going onto the net, you attract these groups of people, and many of them have been around YouTube for a very long time as well. And within these groups of people, you'll tend to attract narcissists. You'll attract sociopaths. You'll attract psychopaths, etc. And it's strange because in the real world out there, I Blue Line, in the real world out there, you'll come across maybe one in every 100 people. It's said end up being psychopaths. I don't know, just read this. Looks like the drug addicts hangout show in here. All addicts and recovery junkies. Yeah, adios, amigos. Blocked. One for the road. You've just been blocked. Easy. How easy is that? We don't put up with freaking gang stalkers in here. Okay. If you want to be nice, be nice. If you're going to be an asshole, you're out. That's just how it is. Just like that. So they reckon if you're out in the real world in public, maybe you're going shopping or something like that, or something like one person in every 100 that you meet is going to be like a psychopath. But when it comes to YouTube, you're going to meet a very lot of psychopaths because it's a hunting ground for them. It's a place where they can feed their need. You know, YouTube is like a catalyst for them, etc., etc. Some of them can't help themselves though. Apparently, it's a genetic problem. Like, I mean, I know as a kid, growing up, when I thought of a psychopath, I automatically thought of the movie Psycho, or other horror movies where this one person goes around and basically kills everybody. But that's like a Hollywood psychopath. That's like a Hollywood psychopath for the movies, where real psychopaths aren't going to go around murder. So you've got them round here, and they tend to come into your world. They want to upset your world because one of the traits of a psychopath is power. They're control freaks. They want to control the narrative. They want to control you. Well, hey Renee, how are you, girl?
I'm fantastic. I've been studying hard, and as you can see, I've gotten all my degrees.
Very good. I've already had to block a couple of people there.
Oh, of course, yes, yes. Our
Good.
study participants, yes, they get out of the lab sometimes. We got to knock them back in.
So yeah, I Yeah, like I'm not interested. I'm happy enough. If people want to come in and be pleasant and not be assholes, they can stay. Even if they are assholes themselves, they can stay. It's not an issue. But if people come in and want to disrupt the chat or take the chat in a different direction by talking about nonsense like the ADL and things like that, I'm not interested. I'm not here for that. I don't care about that. I'm just a guy who watched watched a lot of YouTube over the years and decided met a few people and decided, you know, I'll do a few live streams here. People can get together and talk about things. And you know, over the course of these live streams I've been doing, I've you know came in contact with a few of people I would believe to be psychopaths, but I'm not a. It's this isn't about trying to name anybody or label anybody either. I'm not talking about anybody in particular, no, or a specific, you know, group or anything like that. There, I'm talking about in general, you know, general traits that we see um, that are recognized by psychiatrists, etc., as being traits of a psychopath. So I composed a wee list myself here. I have a few experiences and whatnot with them, and I thought I would just go down the list and talk about them. And one of the first things that's here is power. They love power. They love to control. You know, they want to get into your head. They uh, they want to manipulate situations. Um, I found myself in that position, you know, people trying to manipulate me and you know, using their power over me. And it's if you're like a willing participant in perpetuating their control, it doesn't go too bad for you. But the minute you seem to step out of that, you know, and cross away from it instead of moving within it, that's whenever problems start. You know, because the psychopath wants to be in control because they ultimately think that they are better. If you have anything there you would like to elaborate on that, Renee?
Well, yes, they do. That's the grandiosity. I put a little in my intro video. I did a little screen share of the traits of psychopaths, and it's that self grandiosity. They think they're amazing. Now, at the root of all of this sort of stuff, this all sort of comes to fruition because they're basically coping mechanisms. So generally these people come from a place where they weren't made to feel important. They weren't maybe paid attention to. Something happened. It can be even, outright abuse. And they have to cope somehow, right? It's almost like an animal instinct for survival, and they have to create a mental prison, literally, that they need to live in. And, they can't step outside of that. And included in that is the need to consistently be thinking that they're perfect, which means taking no responsibility for themselves or the things that they create or destroy.
I understand that full well. That is another trait of a psychopath, not wanting to take responsibility for their actions. Everybody else is to blame for them, except them. They see no wrongdoing in their own eyes. Um, and it's pretty scary, like, you know. And if you're not somebody who's, you know, maybe a wee bit naive, not when I say naive, I don't mean stupid. You just haven't been around that situation. Coming across someone like that there can be seriously detrimental to your health. Hi, Winder.
Well, at the core of it, right, Scooby, they're energy vampires because of it, because they're lacking so much. They have to get it from a supply, which is other people.
Yeah. I mean, with a psychopath, would they grow up? Would they be somebody who's been a bit of a loner as a child or what? Or I mean, I'm not
Not
saying all
necessarily.
loners or anything like that
And
there,
not
but
necessarily. It depends on the type of psychopath. Because you can have inverted, people that are introverted and people that are extroverted.
yeah, there's a long list with many possibilities to it. Like it's pretty crazy. So it is. But I mean, once you do meet one, as much as it may be as unpleasant, it's actually a very eye-opening experience, as in future meetings with other psychopaths become a lot easier to determine, and you're more aware, so you tend to split from it, avoid it. Then it makes it easier for you. For me, I think manipulation is one of the biggest things that a psychopath will do. They'll manipulate everybody around them. It's like a game of chess to them. They've like got all the chess pieces out, and they want them. They want all the chess pieces in a certain place. They want everybody to make their moves, and whenever it's game over, that's when they get their buzz. You hear people talking about 3D chess and 4D chess and all that shit. I mean, that's all fucking. It's all part of manipulating. It's all about moving their pieces into place. Uh, Now they tend to use that manipulation. It could be used by putting people up against one another. For an example, say somebody comes to me and says, "Bloody dingo, Winter Moonflower's been talking shit about you," and I'd be like, "Fuck me, you're kidding me," you know. And then another week later passes, and they go, "Bloody dingo, Winterman has been talking more shit about you."
That's
You're like,
called triangulation, Scooby. I covered this
"Yeah,
in a stream I did where they pit people against each other. Like, say they've got two friends, they'll tell one friend the other friend is a bad person or has been talking about them. And then they go to the other friend and say the same sort of thing. They get the people mad at each other and they get to cause havoc and chaos that way.
yeah," and that seems to be like a real tactic on this platform that's used quite a lot by these psychopaths, where they do triangulate, they put you up against each other, and the whole time they're manipulating it. They're in the background, manipulate this, and they're enjoying it, and they get a buzz of it. It actually works in the same way as endorphins being released. You know, whenever you enjoy something in general, like say you were planning to go in the town to shop to get yourself a nice outfit, and you go in there, you do your shopping, you buy yourself a nice outfit, you go home, you try it on. You're really pleased. You're a wee bit of a buzz about it. It's the same effect for these people. They enjoy it. They get a buzz. It's a thrill. Um, and Winter Moon,
It's a
she
thrill to cause chaos, right,
yeah,
Scooby?
yeah.
It's not necessarily that their plan has succeeded necessarily. It's a little bit like that. It's more looking at the havoc and chaos they create and watching that misery unfold in front of them. Yeah, it's like a drug.
Yeah, well, Mark has said here everyone is guilty of manipulation. Well, Mark, there's a big difference between somebody, manipulating like a kid. You'll get a kid that even manipulates, they want something and they say they'll be good, they promise they'll be good. No, everybody is guilty to an extent, but the type of manipulation that we're talking about here goes way beyond that. way beyond any of that there. And Winter has pointed out something that is particular again to the psychopath is they lie constantly. It's constant lie, 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 lie. And if you're the victim of that, you know, you're just an ordinary Joe Blow. You've got somebody spreading lies about you. Your first reaction is to, you know, dictate, or sorry, dictate, sorry, defend yourself. You know, you're gonna be like, whoa, 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 I wasn't, that's no, not at all. You know, so you're gonna want to defend that. They know you're gonna want to defend that, so they lie in order to get you to spend time talking, you know, defending yourself, and they get a buzz out of it because they've taken your energy. It's energy vampirism, as you know, the phrase has been coined. Energy
And then when you
vampires.
defend yourself, yeah, when you defend yourself, they will use that information to then manipulate you further.
Yeah, it's official. It's all official circle. And again, you know, the lion aids the manipulation. The manipulation aids the power. You know, it's all one big circle. It's like a big cog, big wheel with all these cogs on it, and each cog is a trait. You know, and it just spins it round, and that is how this. You know, that's what gets a psychopath working. You know, the lion is definitely something that's another major thing, like because it's very difficult, you know, especially you're new on the scene, not a lot of people know you, whatever, and you know, you're trying to. In fact, I'll be honest, this is how I met Winter Wooden. I've told this before, but this is how I met Winter. I come across Winter when I first came across her. I saw her as being um, somebody who was attacking other people because that is what was being betrayed to me by somebody else. So that betrayal didn't just happen. It wasn't just a one-off. It was a constant where it was being betrayed consistently that she was attacking a person. And when I looked at the victim of the person, I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake! What would anybody want to be attacking that person for?" And, you know, I stuck with that train of thought for quite some time. Like, I'm not ashamed to admit it. You know, I stuck that train of thought because I listened to people around me. You know, again, I got caught in the manipulation. They were in control of the narrative and they lied. And it wasn't until that type of thing was happening to me that I started to question and look in. You know, I'm like, okay, this is happening to me. And I know I've done nothing. And I looked around at who else it was happening to, and the first person that I came to mind was Winter because you know I saw her as somebody who was going around attacking. That was what was being told to me. That was what was being preached, and that's what I stuck with. And when I started doing my own research in this situation, I actually found out it was the other way around. Winter was the victim of somebody who was basically stalking her, gang stalking her. You know, it was not just on, it was going beyond YouTube. It was moving across other platforms. And then it even stepped out into the real world, you know, and that's when I understood that, I spoke openly about that. I did a video about it and I spoke openly about it because I was embarrassed that I had let myself be sucked in by other people manipulating me. I mean, even at the time, I'm in my 40s. I'm in my 40s. I'm supposed to be growing up. I'm supposed to be able to see all this, understand all this happening, etc., etc. But that's I got sucked in. So I mean, I apologized to her and all the rest of it, and she's been cool with me since. You know, she didn't throw it back in my face. She didn't, you know, and to be honest with you, I wouldn't have blamed her if she did. you know. So, I mean, I can see how people get sucked into it. I can see how people get blinded by a psychopath who believe their narrative because the psychopath is in control and you're giving them that control. You know, it's it's a big roundabout, folks. So it is. Another thing that I've noticed as well with a psychopath is the lack of remorse. There's no there's no you know, there don't seem to be any empathy or remorse or anything like that. It just seems to be if they even if they get caught out saying something or you find out something that they did, they wouldn't apologize to you. They would, and even if they did, it's like a flippant apology. You know, there's no sincerity about it. You know, that's my finding on the matter. Anything to add, Renee?
I'm here. No, I think here, oh boy. Like you said, sometimes you think you should be old enough to know better, but yeah, it has to happen. And there, it's interesting, it's covert too. Like you don't know it until you're in the middle of it because you start to feel like shit and you start to get gaslit and confused and there's a lot of lies. And then you realize when you start picking apart what's happened that you're dealing with lunatics. And so, yeah, it's like, but now I'll tell you what, I fucking see them coming a mile away now. So that's it.
Well, yeah, that's something that we can all preach to now that we do see them coming a mile away. It's
Yeah, well, and because here's the thing, they typically exhibit similar traits, and a lot of them will come off extremely innocent, nice, well-mannered, polite, honest, and they're anything but. And they were going to wait till they rope you in with that sort of behavior, and then they're going to start criticizing. Then they're going to start putting you down. Then they're going to start grilling you about who you talk to and why do you talk to them and they're bad. And again, and repeatedly, you're defending, you will find with these people, you will be defending yourself 90% of the time when they're not mad at you. So they're going to be mad a lot because they ultimately want to control everything you do, everything you say. So when you don't adhere to that, because it's impossible, correct? When you don't adhere to that is when you catch their wrath. And they can be quietly right. Sorry, my mom. So they can be quiet, manipulation behind the scenes, spreading lies. These are the type of people who'll go talk to your family and friends and lie about you. And then, or some of them will make a big show. They can get abusive, yelling, screaming, very hysterical, and things like that. So there's two ways that they kind of go about it. And if they can't control you, they will control how people see you. And that's why they'll go to other people. Because ultimately, like Blue Line was kind of saying, they need to be the head of the snake. Everybody else is a plaything. And when you asked me earlier about them being loners growing up, well, inherently, they are alone because they don't care about anyone but themselves. They cannot keep friends because everyone is used as a means to an end, which is why you see them fight, change friends, and then come back. Fight, change, and they'll just keep doing a circle, changing friends all the time, but eventually coming back because they join on the intent of a common goal, usually. But once that goal is met, a lot of times those people won't remain friends for much longer. So it just all depends. But yeah, if you start to feel like you're going crazy, or another telltale sign is when you start describing this person's behavior to other people. Telltale sign. Oh, I can't imagine them ever acting like that. Of course not, because they only let a select few people see it. It's very hard to keep a mask on all the time, but psychopaths are good at it. And so they generally are able to convince people for a long time, but they will eventually burn all their bridges.
Yeah, well, we've seen this. We've seen this take place on YouTube. I mean, even within our own community. And again, I'm not naming names. Not interested in naming names or channels or anything like that. That's not what it's about. But just speaking about experience, basically, we've seen this, and we've seen that. Say, for instance, when I would say I reached out and I was starting to chat with you, right? And you'd been chatting to somebody who maybe didn't wasn't that fussed on me, but didn't really know anything about me. But because you have told them that, oh, I got talking to bloody Dingo there, blah blah blah, um, their reaction to that is very telling. You know, it could be if it could be straight away jumping in there. Oh, what did I tell you about bloody dingo this and bloody dingo that, and trying to really throw you off talking to me. And there could be one or two reasons for that. It could be because they don't want you talking to me in case I tell you something about them, or they want to have control over you, so they don't want you talking with anybody, full stop. Or it could be to alienate me. They want to keep me alienated, keep me on the outside from people, so they try and drive a wedge between. It's a real dirty. So I think in some aspects it's actually dirtier compared to what it is in real life for a psychopath, because it takes longer for you to work things out and understand what's going on around you, because you could go months and have no idea there's all this crap going on in the background. It could take literally months and months before it shows up and affects you.
But that's where, well, the thing is, you will get a gut instinct on these type of people. You will, and I always say, if nobody else can give you good advice on things like this, listen to your gut. Because you'll sense something's off. Their stories won't match up. They'll seem erratic with their behavior. Something won't make sense to you. And what I have found when I started really distinctly kind of categorizing the people I know and like how our friendships worked out and things like that, and the one thing that is consistent is with my real friends, I don't have all these problems. I don't fight with them all the time. They don't make assumptions. They don't gaslight me. They know who I am, and when, I don't need to defend myself ever. And we were respectful of each other. And then there's friends that make you feel crazy. They drag you into messes. They may speak poorly to you, be very condescending, insult you and things. And when I start getting into that, where it's very victim based, where they're always a victim,
Hmm.
and they always need help with stuff, and everyone is terrorizing them and victimizing them, beware of the perpetual victim, because they tend to be lunatics. And there's so many people like that.
Yeah, that seems to be another classic tactic of them is victimhood. Um, to the, and that's kind of used to detract away from actual victims as well. I've seen scenarios play out in here where you'll come across a person or a psychopath basically, and they will say they'll apologize for something that is done was wrong, but it won't be sincere. It'll just be, oh, sorry about that. Somebody told me something about you, and I thought it was, and you'll see that particular issue replay over and over again with this particular person, where they will constantly, it'll be a half-assed apology, and they'll say, "Well, yeah, I didn't look into this. Somebody else told me, and I took their word for it." And it's basically just bullshit. It's all just it's bullshit. There's no truth to it.
Yeah, and a psychopath will be completely unresponsive to any your feelings or anything like that. It doesn't matter if what they're doing hurts you, if it makes them feel good, makes them look good. Hell, if it even makes you look bad, they'll do it. And they don't care if you confront them and say that bothers me, they won't give a shit. They'll just keep doing what they want. And that's another telltale sign. People who don't respect you and your boundaries.
Well, I mean, ultimately, because it comes down, it's all about them, you know. I mean, besides this type of live stream that I'm doing now, I'm not interested in half the nonsense in YouTube. I just like the idea of people being able to. Uh, if you remember years ago, Yahoo Chat used to be a thing in the 90s, right? Where people, there was these rooms you could go to. There was all different categories and stuff like that there, and you could go to one of these rooms and you could get talking to people pretty much like what it is in the live chat there, and you just chat away, nothing to it, just chatting. And it got to be that you would just keep on frequenting the same room. You got to know people, and I just see live streams like this being the same thing that I'm doing now. It's just like I'm creating a chat room where people can come along and have a chat. If people want to be an asshole, they're gone. If they want to join in the chat, talk away, partake in things, brilliant. I'm not going to kick anybody out if they're being, you know, part of. But if they're arseholes, they am, and that's another like cliche that's formed in YouTube, where if you block anybody, you're censoring. You're censoring that person's ability to express or speak and all that crap. Where, my attitude is no, I'm not censoring. I'm preventing this person from creating chaos. I see that person as a problem. They can't get on with everybody else. They want to distract, they want to cause chaos. So they're gone. And maybe I might unblock them and give them another chance. So, censorship is another big thing that's being used to try and shame people to not block, so that these arseholes can go around YouTube, can go around chat rooms or live streams and cause bedlam and create their own narrative and cause chaos.
Yeah, well, yeah, they cry freedom of speech. Well, slandering people and lying about them isn't freedom of speech. It's about having different opinions and ideas. But
Well,
that's another manipulation tactic, right?
well, yeah, it is. It's exactly what it is. It's a manipulation tactic again, and freedom of speech isn't something that's worldwide. I believe it's really only America, maybe a few other countries included there, but certainly not my country, and a lot of other countries aren't. But it freedom of speech is only there until the government says you can't. Basically, I mean, if you look at the way it is now, um, everybody's locked in their houses. Freedom of speech, what does that matter now? You're locked in your house. You know, I just think it's another excuse to try and prevent you from blocking people so they can come into your live streams and cause bedlam.
Yeah, they want to because it derails it, and then people leave too. I mean, they think people think they're fun and funny, but people will leave. They won't comment in chat. We've seen it when we've watched them back when the shitsters come in, and the chat will die, and that's what they want. They don't want you talking about productive stuff. They want to derail you with drama and garbage.
Yes, another thing that we see happen is whenever you do a live stream like this, and a lot of people are in here are people that we all know and regulars and whatnot. Um, but what you'll find is, I mean, there's 24 people watching, but there's not 24 people in the chat, because a lot of those 20 26 now, 26 people, some of them will actually be psychopaths watching this right now, and they will be recording this. Or if they may not actually be a psychopath, but they may be manipulated by a psychopath to keep a watch on you. So they go around and they record these live streams and they pay attention to who talks in the chat. And if someone comes in the chat and talks about something, or says something, they will call it out immediately. They will make a video about it. They will talk about it, and they will basically victimize that person. So you get that. So while some people will join in the chat and will, partake, you'll still get people in the background that don't want to because they know that they will be targeted if they do, which is a real shame, but I don't know how to change that. Um, that seems to be a real popular one at the minute. Recording and everything that you do. Just looking over here to see if I can see anything else. Really, we kind of talked about that. Yeah, it's kind of through that list. It's all really been talked about there, but in general, I think most people just want to get on. We would be classed as what, because we've all been around small truther channels, etc. We've been around the bigger ones, and we've experienced them for a long time. We've seen the scamming that goes on and the e-begging and stuff like that there. But I feel that the people around here, while everybody, was looking for truth, obviously, like, most of the people just don't want to be drawn into the drama. They don't want to take part of it. Most of the people just want to come out, chill out, and hang out. That's it. That is it. In a nutshell. Because there is a lot of people around here with a similar story. Hey, citizen reporter. I'm not saying everybody, but if you're then speaking out about your story on here and your experiences and things maybe it's happened to you in life, these a psychopath will take all that in. At the beginning they'll kind of be like, okay, blah blah blah, and then they'll maybe tell them a bit about themselves, but it's probably bloody lies. And when the time comes, if you step out of line or whatever, the stuff that you've confided in this type of person, they will then turn it around and use it against you. In my circumstance, I had an accident quite a long time ago now. Feels like a lifetime ago, but and as part of my pain treatment, I'm on OxyContin and oxycodone. But the people around here, I told somebody that, and the next thing, oh, I'm a junkie, I'm an oxy twiffer, I'm this, they spin it around and speak horrible about you and try to make you feel, like you should be ashamed. Well, you just can't help what you can't help. It is what it is. I'm lucky though because I have a doctor. I go to a pain clinic, and I'm monitored. You know, but for a lot of other people, when they talked privately to somebody about their problem or something that's happened in their life, and for this other person would use it against them, then it can cause total heartbreak for them. It can, send them spiraling out of control itself. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's I would tell anybody now that limit the amount of people that you become close with. You know, really vet a person before you divulge any type of personal information about yourself. Now, when I say vet, I don't mean go and do a background check on them. I don't mean that. What I'm talking about is, test their reactions. Question, test their reactions. Look at what they're doing. Look at how they behave. Look at how they talk and communicate to people that they like, and look how they talk and communicate to people that they don't like, because at some point that could be you, and you've got to remember that every time that you talk to somebody. How does this person talk about people they don't like? How do they treat people they don't like? So it's a very precarious situation, full stop. Like, but it's something that I'm pretty sure for the 26 people watching, we have all experienced. Now, what I think is really crazy is when psychopaths run with psychopaths. That's what I think is whenever things step up a level. I'm not sure what happens in those scenarios, but I would love to be a fly in the wall to see how a psychopath would handle another psychopath. I mean, that's bound to be fireworks. Renee?
Would be interesting. I don't know that they can have a long-term friendship. Psychopaths can't. It's got to be very superficial. The internet's perfect for that because they really have no accountability with their friends. And they all just work based off of a common goal for the time being. And maybe they like to work together and create more common goals, but when they stop having a place to stomp around, they you'll watch it. When you leave these people alone, they self implode and fight with each other. They're always fighting with everybody.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure we all know a few characters or have experienced a few characters around here that over, for me personally, it's 2 years now since this begun. Um, Over that 2 year, it mightn't have happened in the first 3 months or 6 months, but over that 2 year spread, I am now seeing, uh, you know, people from my experience all falling apart, falling out, breaking up. You know, I'm seeing that play out, like, and at the same time, what I do find strange is they don't tend to. To me, it doesn't look like though a psychopath will target another psychopath. They might move away from them, you know?
Blue Lion makes a comment talking about, in general, I'll say, like, yeah, accusations going both ways. Has anyone tried to apologize and move on? See, Blue Lion, the issue with that when you're dealing with people like this, that isn't an option. There is no,
Right.
they're obsessive. It's an obsessive issue with them. It's how they feed their emotions. It's actually literally required for them to prey on other people to survive. So, no, there's no making up with people like that. It doesn't happen. You cannot rationalize with irrational people. Doesn't work.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that because I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've met a few psychopaths in my life, and apologizing. trying to sort shit out. I tell you what happens there, and this is speaking from a real world experience. I tell you what, see what happens there is you're always apologizing then. And it tends to, I mean, I had a partner once and she was a psychopath, and it would be constantly like making up and then breaking up, and then I realized that that person was feeding off that energy of enjoying the breakup and then feeding off the making up, if you know what I mean. The whole apologize, and I'm not talking about physical. I'm talking about the emotional content of it. The emotions that because that's what is fed off here. It's nothing more. Yeah, J-Man been LARPing, ha ha ha. Yeah, well, you can be blocked too, J-Man. Cheerio. Not interested in you. Not interested in anybody coming in trying to friggin' disrupt things and cause nonsense. Not interested. As again, this I'm not talking about anybody in particular here, by the way, folks. This is a generalization. Okay. If people think that, if you think that I may be talking about you, and that's what your gut is telling me you, then I suggest you go and see a doctor. Yeah, Lee Veltman, you're banned too. Adios. I've been seeing your comments about me. Bye, Lee. I'm getting too heavy with this blocking here. So yeah. But I know full well they're not here to get on with people and chat. They're here to talk nonsense, and it's not happening. I'm not putting up with it anymore. You know, they keep on getting called a group. Well, listen, we're just people that want to freaking partake in a live stream and have a chat. That's it. I don't know many times I have to say it. So I personally don't think the whole apologizing and all the rest of it, it works in a short term, but in a long term blue line, I think it comes to a point where you have to end. You have to close the door, you know, regardless of what the relationship is with that person. Should it be a parent, a sibling, a wife, a partner, a husband, you know, an employee, an employer, whatever. If it's somebody that is doing that and it's like a constant, battle of I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's best just to cut them out of your life. Just get rid of them. I've had to do that, and it does work. And it's probably the healthiest thing you can do because you move on and you start to see the brighter side of things. A lot of people I feel in the real world now, maybe they're in a relationship with one of these types of people in the real world for a period of time, and I think it grinds them down to the point where they don't see a way out. They don't see a way how they could possibly break away and cope and succeed away from this person. And you'll see a lot of people sticking with it, especially it's one of the traits that you find with spousal abuse. Should it be a man or a woman, you'll find that a lot of these spouses they'll leave and then they'll go back, then they'll leave and they'll go back. And I would say once the hands go on to somebody for that first time, right? I'd be honest with you, I would give them the benefit of the doubt. A second time, you have to walk away. You have to walk away from it. Somebody starts using you as a punching bag or as a tool to express their aggression, then it's time to leave. And because if you don't, it's going to ruin you. And I think a lot of these people in these situations think that they can't get out of it, or they're maybe talked down to the point where they feel worthless. They're told they're useless. I mean, even if you're penniless, man, it's better to go and live in a dog's kennel with the dog than it is with one of these people. That's my opinion on that matter. Renee?
Well, they'll end up destroying you. If you stay around people like that, they're energy vampires and they'll destroy you. Especially if you have some semblance of, God forbid, if you're not a complete enabler, if you actually stand up for yourself, that's where they really get mad. But if you're an enabler who just says yes to everything, those people, tend to deal with it easier. Because they're sort of, compliant, passive.
Yep, I agree. Winter, I see here she's saying forgiving someone for their behavior does not mean allowing them to have access to you. They will use your friends, family, and even employer to get to you. Yep, I agree with that 100%. Here, crazy as it sounds, we've even seen that happen on YouTube, where they will, contact employers and try and get you sacked. Okay, Jamin, see you've come back in. Nobody's interested. We're not interested in freaking anybody being doxxed, etc. We're not here for that. Um, if you're going to persist, I will block this one as well. Right, where was I? See, that's why I don't like people coming in, freaking talking crap and causing things, because it distracts, and then you don't know where the hell you were. You lose your point, train of thought.
Yeah, there is no way to deal with a psychopath.
Yeah, it's. I would say, without doubt, the best way to deal with a psychopath is to walk away from them, leave them alone, and hope. I mean, if they're living in if you're both living in California, move to freaking New York or something. You know, get away from them. Go to the moon, whatever it takes. Because believe me, you'll not know happiness until you do.
Yeah, there is no apology. There is no acknowledgement. There is no responsibility, no sympathy, no empathy. They lack all of these things. They're like a shell of a human. They're a parasite, and they just cause havoc. And there's no way to. I mean, they have to fix themselves, but by that point, most people like that are so damaged, they can never get out of it.
Well, I've watched a few of these psychologists on YouTube. They're qualified, or well, they seem like they're qualified. That they talk about their qualifications, etc. The bikini top and coconuts. Do you remember that? That was funny. That one. Sorry. See, got sidetracked. And they seem to be talking that it's like a genetic thing with them, that they're wired up differently, and it's the way they are. Um, I think really in that therapy is probably their best option, you know. But then they
Well, the
spend their
problem is
time.
they don't admit they have a problem.
Mm,
They think they're perfect. So that you can't, it's hard to work with that, to get someone to acknowledge that they're a psychopath or even a narcissist. They don't acknowledge it because they are perfect.
yeah, I mean, I remember whenever I had my accident and I had a few surgeries and what, and it became obvious that the surgeries had failed, and there was little more they could do for me apart from try and regulate my pain. Um, that was a real struggle there. So, and I was offered counselling and all, and I kind of laughed at it. I was like, "Pff, "What's counselling going to do for you?" Blah blah blah, and it didn't. I wasn't interested in it. But I I did go to counselling for that to try and help me, to a bit. I guess it was like accept that my life had now changed, that I wasn't um, doing what I had been doing before, and I was going to have to like reprogram myself and learn how to do things a lot differently, um, and hopefully still get the same enjoyment out of life. And I did that. It was something I wasn't willing to do at the beginning, but I eventually woke up to myself and admitted that I need, you know, you need help there, and that's what I did. I went, I talked, had counselling, and it progressed on from there, and I got like a whole new plan of action and a whole new kind of outlook on life. On how I can make things different for myself and still get that. I think with the psychopath, that can't be done. I don't think they can do that because, as you said, they don't admit to themselves. And when they do, when you put a psychopath in a room with like a psychiatrist and unless they're wanting and willing to actually change their ways, it becomes a battle of wills with them. It becomes a game, where they're okay, the ultimate game where trying to con their psychiatrist that they've, changed, etc.
Well, the psychiatrist is usually the person that figures out that they're a psychopath. But I'll tell you what, it's really hard for them to even pick out narcissists because they play really good. They play real good. So yeah, unless it's a really good psychiatrist, which a lot of them are not, um, they have a really hard time picking them out. The usually the only way they're able to tell is after they've killed somebody and then they interview them. you know, that's when they can tell because they probably have more than enough evidence, but they're lying sacks of crap, and they can see how they manipulate and spin when they have the evidence that they have.
Yeah, when it's too late, when it's too late, the damage has been done and somebody's been hurt.
Yeah, and it's harder. Yeah, hoping that a psychopath messes up. I mean, they just are able to lie so stealthily so often. Unless, and people, you're dealing with different kinds of people who may not understand what they're dealing with. They may not be observant of the behaviors that they're watching or the things that they're hearing. So you've got a myriad of people who probably don't even know, and just a couple who think something maybe is wrong with that person. So, I mean, in order, and this is the problem is when you get people start talking, they will eventually get found out as long as people are observant and, they trust each other. You have friends that you can trust that would believe you, you know, but a lot of times, unfortunately, when you get involved with people like that, there tends to be other people in your life who are similar, because that's a whole other subject, but just about attracting certain personality types and things like that until you're aware of how that sort of stuff happens.
Yeah, you know, certain personalities do attract others, definitely without doubt. And I'm just looking at the reading through the chat here.
I've had to
Um,
ban several people for shitting up the chat with bullshit.
yeah,
You're in the wrong pocket, idiots. Why don't you wander over to Voldemort's channel, scumbags?
I've excuse me, I've blocked a few myself, so I'll unblock them later, like, and then come back again. Go try a second time, give anybody a second chance, like everybody should. But keep it up, and you just stay blocked.
J-Man doesn't know the rules of social distancing, which means dis-a-fucking-peer, prick.
Here, Blue Line, I see you wrote there. Everybody here lives in a community where there are real problems outside of YouTube. If you don't care about your neighbor, then why do you care about some person on here? Um, well, I live in a community, and I've got a senior citizen living beside me, and I talk with him all the time. But the times have changed, Blue Line, because internet. We're at the age of the internet, where people now spend a lot of time online. They've got access to it with their mobile phones, with tablets, iPads, and like that, and laptops, etc. So the social media is a huge part now in everybody's life. Not everybody's, but certainly when it comes to the generation, the Gen Zers or whatever, the millennials, they are huge. My generation, which is Gen X, I mean, it came about while I was alive. I progressed through it all. So, social media and YouTube and whatnot is something people get used to. And people like to, I mean, especially now we're in lockdown, people like to communicate with others. And it's a healthy thing, or it should be a healthy thing. It normally is a healthy thing. And for me, whenever I first started doing I like the idea of being able to communicate with people across the world to find out what was going on in their world, not so much on a personal level, but on the level of, what was happening in our society, the laws, the rules, and things like that there. Yeah, there's plenty of people need help, but there's plenty of people that need help here as well. So YouTube is a place where people do congregate, where people will make videos for various reasons. Should it be to show you how to put makeup on, or how to play a game, or tell you their truth on a subject, and things like this here. People should be able to start up a live stream, and people join in and have reasonable conversation without arseholes coming in and trying to upset that. That should be possible. I'm actually quite a good neighbor. I don't complain.
Well, he's a little confused because being on YouTube and being good to your neighbor are not mutually exclusive things. You can do both. I know it sounds hard, but you can.
You can certainly you can do both. I certainly do both. I mean, I've got my neighbour there. I've went to shop for him plenty of times to get him groceries during this whole lockdown scenario, which is a nightmare for everybody. You know?
We're having a good example of psychopaths in the chat today. This is exactly what it looks like. Stalking creeps.
Yeah. Well, there's one there. Poopy Doom, an angry mom, never done jail. Unlike Lee Veltman and his two jail stints for drug trafficking. Sounds like China, that one does. Who knows? Might not be. Could be anybody. But that's the type of thing. It's like, what? You know?
Yeah, well, a lot of people on here have
Why bother? But you're right. I've never jumped. I've never been in jail. I've never even been arrested.
and a lot of the psychopaths on here have quite the family history and quite the criminal history.
Yeah. Funny enough, I did do. I did get questioned by the police once. This is a funny one. Over here, because of the troubles, right? We had no judge and jury. We just had a judge. So basically, when you went to, if you were found yourself up in front of the courts at trial for some sort of crime or whatever, there was no jury there that decided if you were guilty or not. It was the judge that decided. End of story. Well, they started to change that whenever the peace process came in and whatnot, and they were offering, what was it? They wanted people to do you know, lineups. You know, you get to do a lineup, and the victim has to pick somebody out. So that we're in the middle of Belfast. The police are there. They're handing out these flyers, and they say this. Listen, me and my mates, there was like five of us there. I says, "Geez, want to earn 20 quid for half an hour's work?" It's like, I no problem, because 20 quid, that was like $30 back then, and $30 used to be worth something. Used to be able to, spend a day at the arcades with freaking 20 quid. So anyway, we all went along with it for a laugh. And your guy's solicitor comes out, and it was actually the guy's solicitor who picked who did the lineup. Now, whether you got picked for the lineup or not, you still got your 20 quid. So I got picked to do the lineup. One of my mates got picked to do the lineup, and the other three mates didn't. So when we went into the lineup, there was like I think it was eight of us, round about eight anyway. I believe it was eight, and we never heard anything. Never heard questions being asked. There was none of this stand forward stuff. We just put a line, and that was it. And at the end of it, I went to go, and the policeman stopped me. He says, "We can't." He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "We'll have to question you." He says, "Why?" He says, "Because you were picked out." Oh dear. So I get picked out from a lineup, even though, you know, I wasn't guilty. I had an alibi, folks. So me doing a good deed, thinking, "Oh, I get an easy 20 quid here," turned out to spending 4 hours in a cop shop, giving a testimony.
That's crazy.
And that's just how it was. Like, it's funny. So they all took a piss out of me, like, but we all got a carry out that night. So it did. I think it was a Saturday night. We all got a carry out. That was a Friday. We all got a carry out. Went down by the old train tracks. Good old days. So I'm going to drop a wee link here, and if anybody wishes to come in, that's fine. But let me make it clear before you come in, this isn't so anybody can run down another person or channel. Okay, I'm not interested in people coming off with such and such person is doing this or such and such person that. If you want to speak about your experience, fine, but leave names and channels out of it. I don't know. Could be. There's a wee link there. Anyone wants to come in? You're more than welcome. Yes, my health is fine. J-Man, thanks for asking.
Bye, J-Man. Go do some good for your community, you fucking squatch. That boy needs 9,000 hours of community service to be repeated every time he completes it.
You know, people are strange. Put me
Well, and the
down.
bottom, I think it helps people if they realize that these type of people are miserable. This all comes from a place of pain and trauma. And the sad part is, if you probably knew what happened to them growing up, I mean, my heart breaks a little bit because everybody was a little kid once, right? And what do little kids do wrong? Nothing. They just want to be loved. And eventually, something happens with all that, and they turn into asshole adults. And I lose my sympathy at some point because they continue to have choices, and they continue to make bad choices and the wrong choices. So that's where I lose my sympathy for these people. And I think they should be dealt with accordingly, because there was no sympathy when they were doing what they were doing to other people. So, there's no reason to stoop to people's level like that. But, it's funny because I do have some empathy for them, but I also don't want them anywhere near me. Because it is sad. They've gone through a lot in
Oh,
their lives, and it's fucked them up royally. But again, they've had choices, and they make choices, and they have free will, and they continue to be an asshole, and that's their choice.
yeah, but see that I don't watch that either because look, a lot of people go through trauma in childhood or have some sort of really shit experience or whatever at some point. I mean, it's not it's not like it's only a few. It's sad that it happens, but it's prevalent more and more in society that more and more children do experience some sort of traumatic childhood. Uh, my childhood was no bed of roses, but I'm not a freaking a psychopath. I'm not blaming everybody else for it. I'm not trying to ruin everybody else's life because something shitty happened to me when I was a kid. It's just how it is.
Yeah,
So
these people are a vacuous black hole, and nothing ever satiates them. I can talk, I swear. It's they're insatiable. So yeah, again, the way they treat people is how they get their reward, and it's like food. It's a necessity for them to survive. And you know people who are happy and who are loving don't go out of their way to torture and harass people. It's just not, it's incompatible. Those things are mutually exclusive. So, you know, it's a hot mess. And I do struggle because I have sympathy for these people, and that's what they go for. They go for people who are empathic, empathetic, and sympathetic, because they make the perfect target, because they care. So that's why psychopaths don't really care. You'll never get fucking sympathy from a psychopath. You'll never get any understanding. So that's why they kind of gravitate towards people that they can damage, who tend to be quite nice, and maybe hurt themselves, that they put up with people who treat them like shit. It's a double-edged sword, and it's really shitty, because you really have to pay attention and look out for yourself and have really firm personal boundaries, because they will always be testing them. And you don't want people that are going to test your boundaries. because it's not respect, and they don't have respect.
And it's never ending. It is never ending. It's like if they do find what your and find out what your boundaries are, they're always surpassing it. They're always stretching. They're pushing you further and further. You know, it's like uh, it's like watching a child with a dog. You know, like children would kind of tease a dog. Some kids would tease a dog and see what it takes to get the dog to bite, and then the dog bites them, and they're in tears. Then you know, but then they'll go back and they'll do more teasing and things like that. You know, it's just messy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Winter, that's what they say too. They don't have any boundaries themselves. I find that hard to believe though, because they certainly do have boundaries, and you better abide by them or they'll flip the fuck out, which is you're my bitch, basically, to generalize. So yeah, I mean they seem to have pretty damn good boundaries, so that's funny. But they don't respect anybody else's.
Yeah, there's ghosts wanting to join. A lot of men here.
Sure.
Hello.
Hi, Ghost.
Hi.
Not
All right,
PhD.
all right, ghost. How's you?
Uh, Not too bad considering the last few days of drama and some self-reflection. But I think that I think that it's a growing period for me too. Is dealing with some of the stresses that uh, sociopaths, psychopaths, bullies, all the same category, are, they bring to the chats and the streams and the shit talk and the doxing and the trying to portray themselves as innocent angels by slandering people. And one of the things I learned early on um, was when we grow up as children, we learn patterns of behavior, and certainly manipulation falls into that. Is that we learn to get our way, and we uh, you know grow into our teen and adult lives carrying that with us. And it's only when you start to self-reflect, and it starts, I think, probably with having empathy and understanding where somebody's coming from, that you start to look into yourself and interpersonally develop relationships based on those reflections. And when you're a child and you're growing up and it's not corrected right away, you tend to carry that with you into your adult life, and you make mistakes based on that upbringing. And when those mistakes are made, sometimes you may get away with it, and you keep getting away with it until you're corrected by either the law or your own self-reflections, where you want to grow and be a better person in life. Some people use all kinds of crutches, vices, whatever, to carry them into that lifetime or into that life experience. And one of the things I learned as I got corrected in several ways through relationships and whatever else that happened in my life, is that I grew away from that. And making the changes, you have to see what is the problem. And people will try to, point out problems to you throughout your life. And whether you want to recognize and take that into consideration is up to you. And one of the things I have done is look at the things that had caused me problems in the past, probably because, based upon my childhood and the things that I grew up learning and knowing how to deal with problems wasn't healthy. So upon those reflections and those corrective times, I decided to be a better person and reflected and made myself a better person. Now, I'm not an angel by any means. I do still have lash outs and when I do lash out, the next day or two or week or month or however long it takes me to go back and look at the things that I've done and taking responsibility for my actions, I'm able to make better changes. And that's the personal growth that I think a lot of people are missing when they're sociopaths or psychopaths, is that they don't want to look at the problems that they've had in their lives, and they want to project those problems into other people's lives, making people feel miserable, brings people down to their level, and to try to make people feel like that is misery loves company. And I'm still, I'm in my mid 40s now, and I'm still looking to make those improvements. And sure enough, people will get under your skin no matter what. There's always going to be something that will get to you. And if you can get to that point where nothing gets under your skin, well, you've made that journey. And I'm still not there yet. I know that. And I still want to grow, and I reflect a lot of times and think about the things that I've done in the past. And I don't want to beat myself up about it, but because that can be depressing. But it is a moment where I can feel better about making the strides forward. So to the people that are here in the chat trolling nonstop, troll account after troll account after troll account, you're proving the point today is that you don't have that capability. You're stuck in this mode where you don't want to self-reflect and think about how bad you feel, how miserable you feel, and you don't want to improve. But until you get that self-reflection, you won't improve. And what are you going to do from there? You're going to live in that misery, and you're going to try to bring people down in that misery. And when people can rise above that and see what you are, you're making the point until then. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're quite right there on what a lot of things you're saying. As we do grow, especially in the adulthood as a teen, like, and you're growing and becoming a man or a woman, and later on you have a few relationships, maybe things don't go right first time round, stuff like that there. But I mean, there is a process of self growth where we all, look within and try and learn from our mistakes. And the test of that is actually learning from your mistakes and changing the circumstances so you don't make that mistake again. And that's growth. That is what growth is. But some people just aren't capable of doing that. Some people want to blame everybody else for their problems or why things aren't right for them. I haven't got a great job because I didn't have a good education, yada yada yada, and it's your fault. I don't have any money because I have to pay taxes, because I have to do this. Well, so is everybody, but it's your fault. The list is endless, and with YouTube, you do have a choice. Like, you don't have to listen to it. We don't have to feed them, as they say. Just block them out. Just block them. That's what I'm going to be doing from now on. I do have some trolls there that will kind of be friendly towards me for a certain period of time, and then they'll be the opposite. Those type of people don't annoy me too much. Just kind of flit backwards and forth. But it's a troll that hounds and hounds and hounds. It's like, look, enough's enough.
Yeah.
Leave it. Leave it. Like, I mean, we don't want to be rehashing everything over and over and over. So, I personally just want to create like be able to do live streams where, as I've said before, have a chat, people can talk and have a laugh. So when you do go live, people are like, "Oh, cool, blah blah blah, and head over. You know, I don't see live streams as being something that you're shedding this huge truth or whatever or anything like that. There, I see it more as being sharing opinion, sharing thoughts. You know, so I wouldn't ultimately say that, you know, if you're in a live stream or you're doing a live stream, then, you know, you're contributing to A, B, and C. I see it completely different.
And I think that a lot of the people that are trolling here are they are the psychopaths and sociopaths because they're trying to shame you to empower themselves and make themselves feel better because um, they want to shame you and scare you off the internet, especially here in the truth community. And you know, if you're consider yourself a truther or whatever it is, I've seen this in countless other streams that aren't truther related streams. The idea is to talk so much shit to somebody that it gets to them, right? It brings them down. It makes them feel like they don't want this anymore. And the best measure for them, and you know, I'm not talking of strength of character here, is you know, any kind of spineless anything like that, is that if you take a break from YouTube to get off of that, because it's gotten to you, that's what they want. They want to scare you off. They want to run you off of the internet, basically. And they are the epitome of what we were talking about on this topic right now. And those people are hopeless because they don't have no self-reflection. And it could be something more sinister, and we could talk conspiracy on that if we wanted to, but it's not even pertinent because like I said, this happens in other pockets that aren't even truthers. You know, the idea is to shame somebody based on their past and keep bringing it up because that's what they think that they can use as a leverage point to get under your skin. And certainly I'm not the best at this, is not letting it get under my skin. At times I can and I can't. It just depends on the mood and the day. Just so many variables to it, really. But those people have no empathy, no self-reflection of their own behaviors, no matter what hypocrisy, right? It doesn't matter to them if they've done wrong. What they know about you is what they're going to use as leverage point against you. And that's what they want to continue. And there's no hope for those people. They are shitty people. And we know this in the real life, but the internet feels that because you can't, you know, if you were to say those things to people face to face, I don't care how strong your character you are. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, saying the wrong things to the wrong people, you will get fucked up. You know, some people would even murder you over the shit talk that some people bring in this YouTube in the internet world. But the strength of character really comes into test is when you can overcome that. And that's where I feel like I'm making a lot of improvements. And I was mentioning earlier in the stream chat is that when we're able to forgive each other, you know, when you want to squash a beef with somebody and it's mutual, then both parties are strengthening their own characters and that relationship between the two parties. And some of the people, I don't know, is it maybe jealousy that fuels them because they can't do that? They're not capable of it. That's why they continue to shame and harass people on the internet, because they can get away with it. You know, there's no recourse on the internet. It would, you know, nobody's going to go up and knock you in the fucking face, you know. I think you want to say something there. Go ahead.
I think, you know, when it comes to the internet, look, everybody, there's a difference between being trolled by people who are, you know, taking a piss out of you or something like that, or, you know, that happens in every freaking walk of life. You know, it's not just the internet, it happens everywhere. I mean, I used to work in the shipyard there in Belfast years ago, and you know, we were working 7 days a week. Sometimes, you know, 5 of those days would be 12 hours, and the other two would have been 6 hours. but it was the best time of my life. It was funny as hell. I absolutely lapped it up. Now I was in my early 20s then. I used to get the back ripped out of me, and I used to give it back as well. It was banter, it was fun, it was a bit of trolling, Used to, and it was a laugh, and I loved going to work. It was an absolute joy. You couldn't have kept me out, away from going to work. So, banter, trolling, yeah, I no problem with that there. But it's whenever you step up to when people have the traits of a psychopath or a narcissist, when people have those traits and they're well bedded in them, the trolling turns into something more sinister. It has a different motive. Trolling is a tool to them.
Hmm.
It's a tool to keep, you know, so they can keep on manipulating, so they can control, you know, it's all part of it. Like, and as you stated there, look, it's all what we've been talking about here: the lack of empathy, the lack, uh, taking no responsibility for actions, manipulating, being pathological liars. These are all these things that some of these trolls will behave that way. Most of the trolls are just here to wind up and have a laugh and take a piss out of you. I mean, after this stream here, I'll unblock everybody. Next
Hmm.
time they mightn't be so trolly. They mightn't be so sinister with some of the things that they say. In my last stream, I believe it was fellow man turned around and asked if I was still shagging my mother.
Mhm.
Now he got blocked, and I haven't unblocked him. That's just like, man, that's sick. But what a statement! I've never actually really spoken to you in my life, and your first statement or comment that come out to me is to ask if I'm still shagging my mum.
Right.
I mean, what sort of sick individuals come up with these thoughts?
Well, that's the thing is these things don't cross my mind. I don't know where they think of this shit. I don't know where they come up with it, but it's fucking disgusting. It's really disgusting, some of the shit they come out with. And like I said, this stuff wouldn't even cross my mind. So that just tells you right there where their minds are. They're degenerate perverts.
And Dingo, I know you're a smart and intelligent. You're empathetic, and I know you'll use your best discernment as far as which accounts to unban if you're going to unban them. So
Well, I mean, I'll most of the time I'd give anybody the benefit of the doubt, like, um, but if it's something that happens over and over, it's just like I just keep them banned. Why bother? Why bother on blocking them? Like, why waste my energy if they're going to just keep on doing the same thing? Like, as I said, either come in and play or go away. But people should be able to gather. You do well expect a bit of a troll to happen, but it shouldn't be anything like
and
what we're talking about. Like in regards to what psychopaths do, it shouldn't get to anything of those levels. If trolling gets to that level, then it's true.
and I would like to reflect back on your point about your real life workplace situation in Ireland, where ripping people is kind of common, and I grew up in a working trades environment where, and even in the military as well, we trolled each other in a lighthearted way. It's when it's malicious that you it takes that different direction, that that those people aren't worthy of, because they're not self-reflecting, they're not curving it, they're not willing, especially on the internet, to change their attitudes, or what you're saying there is that a good lighthearted ripping is fine, and I can get that. Me personally, on my streams, I don't welcome any of it. That doesn't mean I don't want an opposition for debate. I mean, if you have an opposite point, whatever the topic is, I'm not going to ban you for that. But if your first point is to if your first words out of your mouth from an unbanning is to talk shit again, I mean, obviously, you're one of those hopeless people, and so I use my discernment too, and maybe I'm wrong on some of them, and I'm not going to second guess myself if I think that somebody genuinely. I actually have had. I know of at least one mistake that I may have made, and the guy channel Hidden Hand. I didn't like the way he was coming at me with certain things, and I wasn't sure about his motives. So I didn't ban him. I just took his wrench at the time, but I was skeptical of him, and that's fine. Having skepticism as far as who you do and don't know about on the internet and on YouTube is worthy of consideration. So don't second guess yourself if you think that somebody is worthy of it, and give them the chance. That's fine. Some people I've known here for, I've been on this thing for over a year now, and I've seen the accounts and I've seen the things that they've said over the course of a year. And, those people aren't worthy of my consideration anymore. So, and another point I want to bring up is that when you do have a beef with somebody, whatever the disagreement is, when you can squash that beef and come together and become friendly again, it shows really a strength of character on yourself, and the personal growth that you've made at that time. It does strengthen the bonds and the relationship.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if you want to try and build some sort of type of friendship or interaction with people, and I'm not talking about everybody be your best friends and all live happily ever and fucking roses bloom every day as you walk past them.
Mm-hmm.
If you do want to try and build something of any significance, then you have to set your boundaries out
Mm-hmm.
so people know them in the first place, and then you have to set the guidelines or the rules of what you work to. And if people choose to respect them, great. If they don't, oh well. But the point is, as I said, I give people a second chance to an extent. Most people see that and take it at your word. Then quite a lot of people will respect that, but you'll still get the same arseholes or some arseholes who will, come in, and those are the ones you just keep blocked. You'll end up, there's some of these trolls that are quite funny. There's some people that I thought were trolls that turned out not to be trolls, and I think they're cracking people now. You know, I've made some good friendships with people on here. Renee and Kick.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I couldn't find two better people to be around, and I you would like to try and continue that way, and so that's all I'm kind of wanting to achieve from
Yeah,
being on YouTube with
and
myself.
I'm not talking about creating an echo chamber on my stream. Certainly some ribbing here and there, but when somebody brings personal information, if you want to have your opinion, I probably should do a better job at policing that on my own behalf, is recognizing when somebody's trying to be malicious versus somebody that's trying to give you a good rubbing, like the Comedy Central roast. And one person in particular, I'll say it right now, call that person, well, not calling him out, but this channel LARP Busters. I've seen him over a year now, and uh, I he's one of those people that you can be cool with if you're on the right side of whoever he thinks is you should be cool with, right? So when I had fallen out with Renee last year, he was fine with me and fine, but as soon as I stopped, or when I got when Renee and I squashed that beef, he immediately has gone back to trolling me for his own pleasure, right? And not it's not a good-hearted, not a good-natured trolling. It is malicious. It's not a Comedy Central roast anymore. It's seeing that he's using who I'm cool with and who I'm not cool with as far as how he treats you. So when I think about things like that and the chances I have given people in the past, it's not like one and done. For I've seen these people for a year, and I've seen the things they've said. So I look, if Kickstand or Renee wants to troll you, right? You've been good friends with them for such a long time that that it's not a personal thing. And if somebody has never had a voice, never streamed, never shown their face, I don't. The showing the face thing that's not even really relevant. But if you've seen them and if you've said, or if you've kind of losing track of my point here, but if they've never had a voice and they just sit there and troll you, it tells you something about them that's a leverage point for them, right? And as soon as they know something personal about you, they tend to use it against you. And go ahead.
Well, Ghost, that kind of takes back to what I was sort of saying earlier on today or in the stream about excuse me, about oh shit, it's went out of my head.
Well, we're talking about good-natured ribbing.
No. It about censorship, people saying, "Oh, blocking people is censorship, etc., etc." That's
Okay.
one of the tools that's kind of used against you in that way, and so you don't want to be seen to be blocking people and censoring, so they use it against you. So they know they can come into your stream anytime they want. And another thing to use against you as well is this whole belief that you're just an avatar or you're fake or whatever if you don't show your face. When 99% of people here don't show their face, I have
Right.
shown the face more than once, quite a lot at one point, and I stopped doing it. And the reason is because I worked out they want you to show your face so they can then troll through Facebook and any other type of social media out there to see if they can find you. So if they think that they've got your docs, they need a photograph to confirm. So they need the likeness of you. So they encourage you, show your face, show your face, show your face,
Yeah.
etc., etc. And that's all part of it too. That's one of the tools that they use. So the show on the face, I don't get hung up on that. If people don't want to show their face, don't show your face. But don't then criticize other people if they don't want to show their face. It's
Yeah.
up to the individual. I know exactly why it's done. There's another. You'll get these things going around social media where they'll go through the months of the year, right? There'll be like the 12 months a year will be there, and there'll be a famous person's name beside it, and it'll be which famous person,
And
what
Scooby,
famous.
or Dingo, I also want to point out that in my situation, the first time that my face was shown was inadvertent because you know how Hangouts works is that it'll automatically turn your camera on, and there may be a slight delay between what you see and versus what's being shown on screen, and that happened to me, and it's just the technology took advantage of the situation, and I wasn't familiar with it enough to know that it would happen. And when that happened, it's like they all pounced on it, right? They used that to their leverage point. Another mistake that happened was that somebody was calling me out for stolen valor, right? And that I was never in the military. And obviously they were gaslighting me, and I bit into it, and I um, uh, ended up sending some information that I thought I had scrubbed enough of, and it didn't. It ended up being one of those things that, you know, being gaslit and angry at the time, I didn't do my due diligence because I was, you know, under emotional duress that somebody's trying to call me out for a lie. So I bit into what they were fucking doing, and as a consequence to that, now that there's some information out there, and that's fine, whatever. Sorry about that. I disconnected my mic. Um, this is what they're looking for, right? The gaslight you to try to make you do something wrong or do something, you know, make you make a mistake.
Well,
And
you see what happens, Ghost, is, believe it or not, as shocking as it may sound, there is a lot of people on here with criminal records,
yeah,
and I'm not talking about something dopey either. There's a lot of people on here for that, for some type of like felonies,
mm-hmm.
and they really don't want that to be found out. So, you know, those type of people will try and hide their identity for that sake. Blazing Scars mentioned there about stolen valor. You know, stolen valor is something, you know, people were, they're pretending that they were in the military and they served here and served there. And I mean, these people will go to the extent of they'll go and buy a uniform, they'll buy medals, they'll buy badges, they'll you know, they'll even get tattoos. Some of them, you know, they believe that much,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, they'll betray themselves as that, and then they get found out. And it's crazy, and you know, some people have got away with it like for years and years and years, and then they get found out about it. Now, what happens to them is whenever somebody like that there gets found out or people find out who they are, they're kind of almost shamed off the internet. Well, the trolls are these lunatics, psychopaths, whatever you want to call them, are at the point where that's what they want to do to you. They
Mm-hmm.
want to run you off, because they assume that you'll have the same crappy, you know,
Mm-hmm. I know of,
convictions,
I
etc. And
sorry.
yeah, so like I mean, the more you try to justify yourself, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
The more you prove it doesn't matter, they just twist. I mean, I've happened to me where, you know, I proved a long time ago that I was telling the truth. I debunked the lies a long time ago, and now 2 years later, people are coming out and trying to change the narrative on that. It doesn't matter now. It's
Yeah.
over. I
Yeah.
proved it. That wee video that I put out tonight, before the live stream, that to me is just, well, that just proves it. There it is. You know.
Yeah.
So I don't need to address that anymore. It's there, it's done, it's dusted. But it's when these sickos try to want to take it to another level where they take what's online offline.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's happened here for a few people in this chat at the minute where people online have took it offline, and you know, they've contacted people's police departments, made false claims and all the rest of it. Court cases have come of it, and it's turned into a nightmare, and it just spirals and spirals and spirals.
Yeah.
And you'll find that, you know, these people that do this type of thing, they just don't do it once. They have a history of doing it.
Yeah.
You know,
And
they've done it with other people as well.
all the people that have showed up in your chat tonight and trolled, and it seems like we've burned through all their sock accounts. Those are the same people that are trying to do that, you know, trying to run you off. I'm not ashamed of what happened in the past, right? I mean, I have regrets, but because of those things that happened, I actually grew as a person, and it made myself better. In certain times that things come back up again, and say people like, oh, that's, you know, evidence of more of that, and but they can be proven as hypocrites themselves over the things that they've said and done. And so I'm not really afraid of, I'm not going to be run off the internet. Nobody's going to, you know, I don't have a job, so to speak. You know, I'm self-employed, so nobody's going to, you know, shame me for, they're not going to threaten me with my employer. There's no social media for me, you know. Go ahead and find a Facebook. Good luck. And there's no immediate threat to where I live. Go ahead and try to find that address. Never going to find it. So I don't feel like that level of threat. It's just more of like the shame factor that they're trying to bring. And I know that they're no different. You know, they have their own demons in their own past. And just because I don't know it doesn't mean that they aren't that. And if you want to perceive yourself as a saint, I'm not going to see it, because your actions speak louder than any of your words. So sociopaths are always trying to manipulate and use the information and leverage. You know, so if they find personal information about you, that now that they think they have something over you, so what? You know, I know that I know personally about certain people, and I'm not going to mention their names because I'm not that. I know that they have their criminal histories as well, and their hypocrisy comes when they think that they're justified in doxing other people's information when they have their own selves, their own criminal backgrounds, or their own addiction backgrounds. So I already know that, you know, that these people do this stuff. That's what makes them the psychopaths or sociopaths. There's nothing different there. All I know is that that's what they operate off of. And if they think that they're saints by calling you out because you don't know that information about them, well, you can just assume that most people have something that they're hiding from everybody. And I'm not trying to say I want to know any of their histories, but if they do have those out there, you know, a simple screenshot of something they said.
I think it's simple, and I think it's something that a lot of people, especially in this chat now, have all experienced the harassment. But it's simple. You know, most people want to keep, you know, their self anonymous because they've got family, they've got a job, they've got this, they've got that, and they don't want they don't want people going hunting through their lives trying to upset everything. I mean, that's what a psychopath will do. So, I mean, if anybody is telling you that you have something to hide because you won't tell something this about yourself or that about yourself, you know, that was kind of what I was pointing to earlier. There's these things that go around social media. You know, you'll get something, say like I don't know, a tweet or something like that there that'll go around, and it'll show the 12 months a year, and there'll be someone famous behind it, right beside it, and the tweet will be something along the lines of you know, which star represents your birthday, you know. So say, I don't know, say Donald Trump is September, and I turn around and say, oh, Donald Trump. Well, then automatically that is a straight way of being able to find out the first thing about you, and that, okay, you were born in friggin' September, because that's what you're telling us. And a lot of these things that do go around social media are freaking, and people answer them without even thinking about it. A lot of these things are to find out details about you. And then the people that do give out a certain detail, they will then hone in on it. They will hone on those people until they can get more and more information from them. And then they end up freaking, freaking getting money taken from their accounts, things being bought, and all the rest of it. Like, there's a lot of fraud goes on, and there's a lot of way that people use the internet as a weapon to commit fraud. So, I mean, keeping things private about yourself is an absolute no-brainer. Say I got talking to Renee or whatever, right? I'm talking to Renee and I've been speaking to her for 3 months. Over 3 months, you're not going to freaking just tell somebody the same thing. You're going to get to know them a bit. They'll maybe tell you something about them. You'll tell them something, but that's something that's built up over a period of time, and trust comes in. Now, if a person betrays that trust, then you cut them off straight away. You cut them off. And that's all you can do. The most important thing you can do is whenever you come online is protect yourself.
Well, and
Simple as that.
Dingo, I've always operated off of that as early as the internet's been alive. I was on the internet before there was even Windows, and I was told long ago during that time that never use your real name, never put your personal information out there. And it was only because of technology that in my own follies that unseated that. But I know what you're saying, and social media is one of those reasons that I've always kept off of social media, is because I didn't want that. I didn't want that in my life. I didn't want that. I didn't even like the concept of it, telling the internet your whole business. So I've never had a Facebook, never had Twitter, never had any of those other social media platforms. So I'm fortunate enough to know that those things were pitfalls. And so because of that, I'm still protected somewhat. I've always taken measures. I've always known for a long time that, if you own a house here, at least here in America, that if you own a house, it's public information. And I've always taken measures to conceal that, because that's information on the internet that can be gathered. So I've protected myself enough that I know that no matter what, I'm still safe and secure, and I can continue on my business. Now, I know that people have been run off because their jobs were at stake, or their livelihoods were at stake because of the things that they were saying, and where they lived were known, and they have families that they had to protect, and those are protective measures you have to take. And so I've never really had to worry about that. And so if I'm issuing a challenge to those people, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying that, there's nothing really that you're going to find other than some shit that happened years and years ago. It's not relevant to who I am now. And people don't really care about that, because I've seen and know of people that have actually served prison time. And I've never had felonies. I've never had to worry about it. So that's not a concern of mine anymore. I'm bringing it up because I'm trying to prove a point that the people that are digging for that information are the ones that are the most hurt. They're the psychopaths, the sociopaths. They're the people that are trolling these chats. They're the people that are, making troll accounts to, scare you off the internet and stuff. And I'm just here to say that it's not going to happen. So what? That doesn't change my perspective. Go ahead.
Good stuff, Ghost. On that note, folks, it's just over 2 hours. and it's just coming up to 12:30 a.m. here, so I'm going to call it a night.
Appreciate you having me on, Bo.
Yeah, no worries, boy, no worries. It's been a good chat, and hopefully, certainly, when it comes to the first part there of the stream, talking about the traits of psychopaths, a lot of people here, well, I know a lot of people here recognize them, full stop, because the majority of people on this chat have all had to deal with them at some point or another. So, on that note, folks, thank you very much for turning up. Appreciate it. And I will be streaming again pretty soon. Thank you and good night.